Hey everyone, this is Mickey Papillon with the Cell Phone Junkie, and today we're taking a first look at the Samsung Transform. A few words about the device before we get into it. It's an Android 2.1 device. It's got the new Sprint ID service, so we're going to talk a little bit about Sprint ID and what it does. This one does have a sliding QWERTY keyboard on it, so a landscape keyboard for those that are fans. It's a 3.5-inch display, 800 megahertz processor, two cameras on it, one on the front, one on the back. The back one is a 3.2 megapixel. It does, of course, have Wi-Fi capabilities with a 1500 milliamp hour battery, and this one will be available on the 10th of October. That's Sunday the 10th. The cost of the device will be $149.99 with a 2-year agreement. So let's dig right into this here. This phone is a review device that Sprint provided here. I have not actually looked at it yet, so I'm not real familiar with it. But there you go. There it is right there. Pull that off. And let's see, where's the power button on this guy? There's right there. We'll push that. And coming on. All right, put it back over here. Bunch of other junk, I'm sure, in the box that's going to be real interesting, right? Bunch of user manuals. Cardboard. It does come with a micro USB cable, and of course the adapter, and that's that. So we'll come back to the phone here. While it's booting up, we'll take a look here. So you've got the sliding QWERTY there. I actually got a chance to take a look at this one just for a few minutes while I was at the CTIA with Sprint, and you know, it's a pretty nice device for those that are looking for something that's not one of the 4G devices that Sprint has right now. It's got that 800 megahertz processor, Android 2.1. You know, with the nice camera on the back, and overall, it's a good solid device for those that are just looking for, you know, an Android experience but aren't looking necessarily for the 4G service. Overall, this is going to be a device, like they mentioned to us, that they're hoping to tie people in to the Android ecosystem and making a very easy barrier to entry. So we'll click this one on here, and so you can see right off the bat, this has got the Sprint ID on it. So it's not the stock ID, it's the Sprint one. So you've got some specific stuff to Sprint, including the Sprint Zone. Let's see, you've got a messaging application there. Let's see if I can get it a little bit better for you. Some widgets there. It's pulling up San Francisco and rainy. I'm in Phoenix, so I'm hasn't figured that one out yet. And then some contacts, and here's all of your typical services for Sprint. So you've got Telenav, Sprint Football, NASCAR, you know, that kind of junk. So, but let's say I have this device and I want to go to a different ID. What do? Well, simply click this ID button right here, and it's pretty slick. It pulls up my ID, and it's got the Sprint ID loaded in it. So if I click on my ID, it's going to have me wait here just a second while it's configuring the device. And the My ID is essentially stock Android. You're going to see that here in just a second. So you've got now just the typical icons that you're used to. And if I go back here, you'll notice there's nothing on there. There's no Samsung TouchWiz like you find on the Epic 4G. There's no Sense UI like you find on the HTC devices. I mean, this is pretty much just stock Android. So this is the nice thing about it, is that you can go in and you can make your changes. Now, if I want to get a new one, I go to Get New. Sprint ID will go to the service here, and it will then figure out different options that I have here. So, for example, let's say I'm a golfer, which actually I am a golfer, so it will be interesting to see what this does for me. So, the golf enthusiast, this is going to have, let's see, what do they say it has? It's got the Green Finder GPS. It's got some, you know, weather bug application, which is kind of cool, actually. Give you some information on the weather in your area. Of course, then you can stay up with the latest news, sporting events, and look at that, even a couple of games there. Par 72 and the Fun Putt Mini Golf, whatever, for rainy days. Not really sure. So let's see what happens here, because I haven't set anything up on this. So, yeah, it's probably going to say, okay, terms and conditions, agree. And it's going to download the Golf Enthusiast ID. It says it's going to take several minutes. I say okay, and there we go at the bottom where it's going through the downloading process. This could take a few minutes, so let's see what we can do. Let's go back to the home screen while we're waiting. Just a quick look here also at what else is on the device. I mean, it's your typical Android operating system device. It's going to have all the the regular applications that you find in Android 2.1. If we go down to settings here, I'll show you what we have. And we'll pull up the Out phone. There we go. And where are we at? Firmware update 2.1 update 1. So there you go. So that's that. Now, the fun Android that it is, click back here and see where we're at. We're at about 19%. It's still going, so we'll hit home and go back to here. The other things that they're going to have on here just by default are all of these Sprint applications. That's just something that you're going to have to deal with this device. But as they mentioned, it's going to speed things up when they go to update the software. This is Android 2.1, and when we upgrade to the 2.2 version, it's actually not going to take all that long for them, because they're going to essentially be able to roll out vanilla Android on the device, and all of the updates, the customizations are all done through Sprint ID. And I think that's a pretty big thing for Sprint, and I think it's really going to be helpful for devices that they roll out with this in the future. There's 3 current devices that have the Sprint ID service. The first one, of course, is this one, the Samsung Transform. The second one is the Sanyo Zayo, and that's an Android 2.1 device that has no physical QWERTY keyboard on it. That is a device that is just the standard touchscreen device. 600 megahertz processor, 3.2 megapixel camera, and that one will also be out on 1010. And third, the Optimus S. That's from LG, and the Optimus is a 2.2 device, so that comes with Froyo. That'll be out on Halloween, October 31st. 3.2 megapixel camera, 600 megahertz processor on that one, and like I said, that's got the Android 2.2, which is going to be nice for those that are looking for things like the mobile hotspot, because it is capable of that for the additional $30 a month. 62% here, still rolling. A couple other things about the Transform. This keyboard is pretty nice. For those that are, let me get a little bit closer on here. For those that like QWERTY keyboards, the keys feel pretty good. I did a little bit of typing on this one when I first got it, and when I was testing it out, that is, back in San Francisco. And I was pretty happy with it. I thought for QWERTYs it was okay. It doesn't have dedicated rows for the numbers, but that's okay, no big deal. The touchscreen is a very decent resolution. It is not it's not anything special. I think it's just the whatever it is, the 640 by 480 or whatever it is. It does, of course, allow for multiple accounts. So if you've got email accounts for personal and work, you can customize it with those. And then, of course, we have those dual video cameras that I was mentioning here. The 3.2 megapixel on the back, and then you can see right there, you've got one on the front as well that's going to allow for video streaming. So I really like that. Yeah, voicemail. Yeah, I don't care about voicemail right now. Of course, the fun of getting a device that hasn't been set up yet. So 96%, almost there. Again, it's got a micro USB for charging. Interesting. We'll see that on the top, as well as a 3.5 millimeter headset jack. On the left side, you've got a volume rocker button, microphone on the bottom right there. And then there's a dedicated camera button, voice dialing, and power button right there. So it is now successfully installed, and you'll see the customizations here that it puts on it. It changes the clock to a golf ball. That's kind of interesting. It sets a widget here for weather bugs so that I can set my weather. Of course, you can see the golf course in the background there. Puts on Golf Links tip of the day. So if you want to find the latest tips about golf, you've got those. And then the other applications, you've got Green Finder, Your Golf, My Assist, and the Telenav GPS, as well as some sort of search box up there. I don't know what that is. You can put an Express News widget here. You can configure that. And then on here you've got TripIt and Handmark, and also Tweetcaster. You can set that. Leagues, I don't know what in the world that is, and then some other Daily Edge deal, who knows, just a bunch of stuff that they do. So anyway, so that's what happens when you install one of these Sprint ID packs. But guess what, I'm done with golf. I don't like golf anymore. Click back on here, and then I can easily go back to My ID, and with just a few seconds here. And there you go. Right back to essentially what's vanilla Android. We'll go in here to the applications. And I saw the daily deal up there. The green finder is still there. So it's actually installed the applications into the device. It's not like they've gone away, but they're not, on the forefront here. So that's the Samsung Transform with the new Sprint ID service. There's some great customization abilities with this here. A device for $150 that's got a QWERTY keyboard. This is a definitely a great device for those that are looking to get on Android but don't want to spend $200 plus an additional $10 a month for 4G service, especially if you don't have 4G in your area. The Samsung Transform from Sprint.